Hi guys, it's Jess from Honest Fiction, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a if you like this book, try this book, fantasy romance rec video. Alright guys, so this video is packed with bingeable fantasy romance pairings. So if you finished a book like Fourth Wing or Court of Thorns and Roses and immediately thought, what do I read now? This video is for you. So I put together a list of some of my favorite fantasy romance books and just some like popular fantasy romance books in general, and then I found books that gave me a similar vibe. Now these books will not be exactly like the book I'm comparing them to, but they probably have some certain element that makes me think they are similar, whether that be trials, strong female lead, they just have a similar vibe. And I will give you a spoiler-free plot synopsis of every book as well as my overall thoughts. So I cannot wait to talk about these books with you guys. If you're unfamiliar with my channel, I post new videos every Wednesday and Sunday. If you haven't yet, please like and subscribe. You can also hit that notification bell to be notified whenever I post new bookish content. You can also check out my Instagram, Goodreads, and Patreon, all linked down below. With all that out of the way, let's talk about these romantasy books. Alright guys, so first up we have Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. This is a lot of people's introduction into fantasy romance, and it is an absolutely amazing series. Highly recommend if you have not read it yet. But in this story, we are following Celaena Sarrathian, who is an assassin, who is pulled out of captivity and forced to serve a corrupt crown in order to try to gain her freedom. If you enjoyed this series, I am positive you will love Lady of Darkness by Melissa K. Roehrich. In this story, we are following Scarlet, who is an amazing assassin, who is pulled out of captivity and forced to serve a corrupt assassin lord in order to try to gain her freedom. So just the plot of the first books in both series, very similar. The main characters in these books are essentially the same person, and I'm not mad about it. I actually, although both characters do frustrate me a lot, I do really, really love them. So at the start, both these characters, I believe, are 19, and they act like teenagers. They really haven't had supervision other than the people that are controlling them. And also that kind of leads into the fact that both of our main characters are pawns at the start of their series, so they're really just trying to gain their freedom. But they make very, very frustrating decisions because they are teenagers. They don't always think through their actions, and they're very impulsive. So they just really reminded me a lot of each other. Also, both of these series do involve fae. They also really play into destiny versus free will. So if you like kind of those themes, I think you'll love both of these series. Also, if you love a ton of different POVs, these series are for you. There are a decent amount of POVs in both series. They both really kind of deal with found family, and both series are just incredibly similar. Now, there are enough differences that I don't feel like I was reading the same exact series when I was reading Lady of Darkness. I definitely am loving this series. I'm currently hosting a read-along over on my Patreon, so you guys can check that out if you haven't yet. But I love both these series with all my heart, so if you have not checked them out yet, highly recommend. And next up, we have Zodiac Academy by Carolyn Peckman and Susan Valenti. This is another unbelievably popular fantasy romance series. And in this, we are following two girls that find out that they are actually magical beings and are forced to attend a deadly magical academy, where they also discover that there are already a group of powerful males that are ruling the school and want to make their life a living hell. Now, if you enjoyed the Zodiac Academy, I think you will love On Wings of Blood. So, On Wings of Blood is following a girl that discovers she's actually the last of a magical race and is forced to go to a deadly magical academy where she finds out that there is already a guy there that wants to make her life a living hell. So, once again, a lot of similarities with the plot. I will say there's some more differences between these two series. In Zodiac Academy, we're following two twin girls that actually believe they were human, and then they go to this school when they find out they are fae. In On Wings of Blood, we're actually following a fae girl who discovers, after going to another realm, that she could potentially be a dragon rider in a realm that is filled with vampires. So she has to go to a vampire academy. But these two series are also incredibly similar. First off, the writing, just in general, felt very similar. I don't want to say it's not my favorite, but It's a certain writing style that I am not the biggest fan of. However, the story was very, very entertaining for both series. Now, both are bully, so if you don't enjoy bully, maybe avoid them. Zodiac Academy does kind of drop the bully as you progress through the series. On Wings of Blood, I've only ever read the first book, so I have no idea how the second book is. But they both have different sort of paranormal creatures, definitely have that bully feel. Now, also, Zodiac Academy is following a bunch of different romances. I'm pretty sure On Wings of Blood might just follow one, but we will see. But both series felt so similar to me while I was reading them, and I enjoyed both, so highly, highly recommend. And next up, we have What Lies Beyond the Veil by Harper L. Woods. In this series, we are following this girl named Estrella, who lives in a very patriarchal society where there is a magical barrier that separates her community from the dangers of like the magical beings that live on the other side of the barrier. And in order to keep this barrier functioning, they end up sacrificing people. And at the start of our story, that barrier ends up rupturing. So if you enjoyed What Lies Beyond the Veil, I think you will absolutely love Anathema by Keri. Now at first these seem very different. This is much more gothic, adult, kind of like creepy vibes. And What Lies Beyond the Veil, not so much. However, in this story we are following Maeve, who is a girl who lives in a very patriarchal society where there is a magical barrier that separates her community from an evil magical realm. And when people are punished, they are forced to go through this magical barrier, which is a wood in this story. So in this, we are following Maeve, and I will say Maeve and Estrella do feel very different. Maeve feels much more somber, very adult. So as far as the characters, I will say there are a lot of differences, but just the overall story, I kept comparing what Maeve was going through kind of to what Estrella goes through in What Lies Beyond the Veil. So in What Lies Beyond the Veil, we are dealing with a magical veil that ends up falling. Also, both characters are forced to team up with unlikely allies, and they both kind of have to navigate their love interests. Also, lots of themes of betrayal and trust and finding oneself. So I loved both books. I'm very excited to finish the What Lies Beyond the Veil series. I'm pretty sure the last book is set to release this year. And Anathema, when I picked it up, I was positive it was a standalone, only to finish it and realize it's actually part of a series or duology. So I need the second book ASAP. And next up, we have The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. In this story that is set, I believe, in the 18th century in Europe, we are following Addie, who ends up making a bargain to live forever. However, the cost of this bargain is that anyone who meets Addie LaRue will immediately forget her once she is out of eyesight. So it's a very lonely existence. If you enjoyed The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, I think you will love Peaches and Honey. Now, Peaches and Honey is also set, I believe it's 12th century, also England, and we are following Annie, or Anna, and she has vitiligo, so she also lives a very lonely existence, and she's living kind of on the outskirts of town because of her vitiligo, and she ends up offering another person compassion instead of hostility, and he ends up granting her immortality. Now, unlike Addie LaRue, there really isn't a catch to this. She just has to make sure that no one realizes she's immortal, because that would be kind of odd. So, both of these stories, once again, so similar in terms of plot. I will say I actually prefer Peaches and Honey. Peaches and Honey does have a little bit more of a romance aspect to it. The person that granted our main character immortality does play a bigger role. In Addie LaRue, that really doesn't happen until towards the end of the book, I would say, from what I remember. But both books, so similar, dealing with these two people that are going through life and are just watching the depravity of humanity, but also these beautiful moments. They actually, I'm pretty sure, both see certain historical events. And if you enjoy history and just kind of watching people, I don't want to say interact, but like the nuances of humanity, I think you will love both books. And they both definitely give that. I have not read the second book in the Peaches and Honey duology. I really hope they re-release. I just realized both books are out of publication, so I'm hoping they got picked up trad. But either way, both books are so good, so please check them out if you haven't yet. And next up, we have Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. I am sure you all know what this book is about. We are following Violet Sorrengail, that at the start of this series is forced to attend an elite war college, where her survival is dependent upon her strength, her cunning, and her ability to keep secrets about what sets her apart and would allow her to survive. Now, as she has to kind of navigate this school and survive all of these deadly trials, she begins falling for the one person that could spell her demise. So, if you loved Fourth Wing, I know you will love Silver Elite by Dani Francis. I know, it is not fantasy romance, it is dystopian. I still wanted to include it on this list because I feel like a lot of my subscribers have been reading this and really enjoying it. So I figured, why not? But in Silver Elite, we are following a girl named Ren, who is forced to attend an elite war college where her survival is dependent upon her power, her cunning, and her ability to keep her power a secret from all of her friends and family while she is slowly falling for the one person that could spell her demise. So, very, very similar. The entire time I was reading this book, I was thinking of Fourth Wing. They are also very different. Our main character in Silver Elite has psychic abilities that have been deemed kind of illegal in this world. So she is trying to keep these psychic abilities hidden from all of the other people at this war college while still kind of developing friendships with them. Fourth Wing, not quite that level of secrecy. We're following Violet, who is doing things in order to survive that are somewhat against the rules, but she also does keep secrets from friends and family. Both main characters have a habit of doing this kind of to a frustrating degree, but also their romances felt so similar, just with the romance and the dynamic. I don't know how to do this without giving away a big spoiler. So just know the romances are very similar. There's also a lot of like mind-to-mind speak that happens in both books. And overall, Silver Elite felt like Fourth Wing with a mix of Divergent. So overall, I really enjoyed both books. I cannot wait for the sequel of Silver Elite to release. I'm very interested to see what happens. Onyx Storm was not my favorite in the series of the Empyrean series. However, I am still very much looking for the next book to release. And next up is Shadow and Bone by Leigh Bardugo. This is a very popular young adult series and also has been adapted into a TV show that is so good, and I am so mad that they canceled it because Six of Crows, I needed that series. But anyway, if you're unfamiliar with Shadow and Bone, we are following a young girl that has been hiding a secret magical ability until one day she is forced to reveal said ability and is dragged to a kind of militarized kingdom where she is forced to train under a dark, alluring man that is harboring a lot of secrets. In Broken Souls and Bones by L.J. Andrews, which is a very recent read for me, we are following a young girl that is hiding a certain magical ability until she is ordered to reveal her power because she needs to save a friend, and after her power is revealed, she is whisked away to a kind of militarized kingdom where she is forced to learn how to use her power under the watchful eye of a man that is very dark and alluring and is also harboring a ton of very dangerous secrets. Now, these books are actually very different in a lot of ways. That's really the only similarity. They also have a similarity in terms of their magic system. Both series use kind of like a bone magic, and anytime it was explained in this book, I kept picturing Elena in Shadow and Bone, and if you've seen the show, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. She has bones placed like in her neck area. Very creepy looking, but that's essentially what happens in this. In the magic system, our main character is able to take bones from other people and kind of put them into others in order to make them more powerful or be controlled, and it all has to do with like bone magic. And I loved this book. This is one of my top fantasy romances of the year, and I'm amazed more people aren't talking about it. This was so good. Now, I will also say Shadow and Bone has more of like a kind of like Russian type feel to it. This is much more Viking, kind of gave me a Fate Inked in Blood type vibes, but there are definitely some similarities in terms of the magic system, kind of the overall plot, and the characters. And I will admit the last two books don't really have a similar plot, but they have a lot of other similarities. So first up, we have A Court of Thorns and Roses. We are following Farah Archeron, who is a human, who ends up going hunting to provide for her family, where she kills a fae, mistaking it for a wolf. She is then forced to journey to the Spring Court, where she slowly learns about the fae and magic, and the story really progresses from there. So, if you liked A Court of Thorns and Roses, I think you will very much enjoy The Wind Weaver. This is another recent read that was so good, worth all the hype. Everyone needs to read this. I absolutely loved it. But in this story, we are following a girl that lives in a human world where magic has been outlawed, and it is discovered that she actually has magic. So she is captured by Commander Scythe, who whisks her away to the Northlands, where she discovers that magic is actually not as outlawed here, and starts to discover that she might be a remnant, someone with very powerful magical abilities that could save the entire realm. So, how are these two books similar? Because once again, the plots, not so much. Both characters start off essentially powerless. They really have a whole fish out of water dynamic to them, so they're both slowly discovering magic and the world and realizing that they had some preconceived notions that might have not been correct. So I loved kind of discovering the world with our main character. Also, there's a decent amount of training montages. We have the whole found family. There also might be a similar romance in this as to the first A Court of Thorns and Roses. I'm not exactly sure where this romance is heading, but I'm kind of getting that vibe. There is definitely a watery sand in this that I am obsessed with. So overall, if you liked A Court of Thorns and Roses, I really think you will enjoy The Wind Weaver, another one of my top reads of the year. Alright guys, that is it for if you like this book, try this book, Fantasy Romance Edition. I've actually done this video in the past, so I will leave all of my past videos down in the description below. And I would like to say a giant thank you to my Paladin protectors. I actually have so many of you, I need a computer so I can read them off because I've tried doing it by memory and I keep missing people and then I feel terrible. So thank you so much. Amanda, Christy, Kat, Lotta, Leslie, Nerdy, Spoon, and the Sarandrea family. Thank you guys so much. I can't even describe to you guys how much it means to me that you guys are supporting my channel. So thank you. And I said this already, I post new videos every Wednesday and Sunday. And if you haven't yet, please like and subscribe. I will see you next week.